It's one of the special day in the life of our church as well as in the life of Mr. Peter George. 60 years back, he started playing organ in this church. So he is completing 60 years today. It's a great blessing to all of us. Without organ, it is very, very difficult to sing the song. So it is God's grace and mercy. We were very much blessed by such a wonderful organist. And it is then we thought that we should felicitate him in this special occasion. He has arranged breakfast for all of us. So we request all of you to take part in the breakfast fellowship and continue to uphold him in your prayers. He was very punctual for every service. Have you ever seen him coming late? I have not seen him. Okay, good. So all of you have the same experience. So he was very, very much committed to his commitment. There was no need to tell about his responsibility or anything else. So, on behalf of the church, we want to felicitate him. So first I request our secretary to come forward and present a memento. Then I'll request the treasurer to come forward and present the bouquet. So please come. Where are you? Is there? Okay.
Good morning. Before I present the plaque to Mr. Peter George, I would like to just read out what is written on it. A word of appreciation. The Society of St. Paul's Church is indeed blessed and fortunate to have amongst us an organist of the stature of Mr. Peter George. He has stood by the church with passionate and selfless commitment and has played an important, honorable role during the last 6 decades in the life of the church, in the selection of hymns and the playing of the organ. In the last 60 years of service, Mr. Peter George, with a strong church music acumen, has used God-gifted talents to glorify God by providing enchanting organ music, which has made every worship service so meaningful. On behalf of St. Paul's Church, Pune, we would like to place on record our deep appreciation and gratitude to this amazing contribution, not only for every morning and evening Sunday worship services, but on various different occasions too. Thank you.
It is said that behind every successful man there is a lady, isn't it? So every day he came to he was on time here. It means that his wife was behind him, isn't it? Always preparing the breakfast and sending him here on time. Otherwise he would not have come here on time. So we thought we'll have to thank her by giving the bouquet. So I request the First Lady of this church to come forward and present this bouquet to her. Please come. Now I request Mr. Robert George to come forward and say a few words.
A few weeks back, I had a request from Revd Cancelian that I should speak a few words on this landmark achievement of the life of Mr. Peter George, who has served St. Paul's Church for over 6 decades, and that too voluntarily. It was told by Mr. Cancelian that it was a unanimous decision of PC that I should speak on behalf of St. Paul's Church. I thank you for giving me this opportunity. 60 years of dedicated and faithful service speaks volumes of God's blessings and grace. And it's a testimony for each one of us to see how God uses and blesses people with talent and how that can be used mightily to glorify His name. St. Paul's Church indeed is very fortunate to have a person like Peter George, who has passionately learned to play the organ music from his early age, and over the last 6 decades has provided us with enchanting organ music, which has truly made each church worship so meaningful. In the life of any church, and especially where there is a pipe organ, music becomes a lifeline of the service. It is unthinkable to see without a pipe organ music or any music how the service will be. We see so many churches, both in India and overseas, with such beautiful pipe organs installed in the church, but nobody to play them. So it's a tragedy for such churches to lose out on the beautiful pipe organ music. St. Paul's Church is indeed blessed with a pipe organ which is more than 112 years old. And these pipe organs are a rarity these days. And all the more a daunting task to keep it well maintained. And to that I would say all credit goes to Peter George. Over the last 60 years, he has very religiously and meticulously planned the maintenance and has got the maintenance done from people from both within India and overseas. The other aspect which I would like to say about Peter George is every Sunday we come to worship or any other services, it's a selection of the hymns. He has a strong acumen on this church hymn music, and he selects the appropriate hymn for each worship. And especially when it's a joy to behold when he's playing the organ, it's really a joy to listen to that music. Mr. Peter George is a retired Air Force radio technician, comes from a family which loves music. His father was a violinist, and his cousin was the organist at St. John's Cathedral, Nazareth. So right from his early age, he had a passion for music, and also he was exposed to strong Anglican Christian traditions and discipline. It is Mr. Peter George and Mrs. Olidas, who passed away, and many others who have maintained this rich culture of Anglican Christian traditions in our church. One of the traits that already has been mentioned by Revd Cancelian is that which we all can admire is Mr. Peter George in his punctuality. Sunday after Sunday, for both morning and evening worship services, and in all types of weather, he has been well ahead of the service time so that each one of us can enjoy the service music right from the start of the service. When you look at this mammoth feat covering 6 decades, it means to come to church for more than 7,500 occasions. And that by itself, I would say, is a record feat, which will never be covered in any Guinness Book of Records or Limca Book of Records, any portals as such. We should all be grateful that St. Paul's Church for this dedicated and passionate service that Mr. Peter George has rendered to us. Had this been in England, I'm sure the Queen would have either knighted him or given some order of merit to Peter George. To have Mr. Peter George come to Sunday after Sunday in this manner and on many occasions beyond the Sundays, we must definitely thank his wife for this support. I think she's the anchor behind Mr. Peter George's success. There's one more thing which I would like to share, that is, besides all the good things, Mr. Peter George loves to talk, and sometimes maybe loves to also brag, and also likes to pull somebody's leg. But that's where his wife has played a keen role of ensuring that Peter George's feet are always on the ground. The first hymn played by Peter George in St. Paul's Church was "New Every Morning is the Love, Our Awakening and Uprising Prove." Mr. Peter George is little over 80 years, but he's still bursting with energy. Even during the pandemic times, he braved and came to church, and so that we all could enjoy the pipe organ music during the online worship services. He has received a lot of admiration across the globe who have listened to the hymn music when he played on the church organ, and this has been across the YouTube. People have enjoyed this, and he has received a lot of praise. In conclusion, I would like to thank that God has placed Peter George amongst us so that we could be blessed with hymns being played on the pipe organ.
Now I request Mr. Peter George to say a few words.
I am delighted and honored to have witnessed the moment to continue to serve the Lord after 60 years as an organist of St. Paul's Church. Every creation is blessed with talents, gifts by the Creator. So am I, by the Almighty, with this amazing gift of music, but the uniqueness of this gift that He had bestowed upon me is the talent coupled with time. How sweet it is to taste this beautiful time and moment in my Lord's house. As I humbly reflect on thanking God for this time, I wish to quote words from hymn "Sovereign Ruler of the Skies" by John Ryland, which reads, "All my times are in thy hand, all events at thy command." These words truly apply for this time and event. It further reads, "All my times shall ever be ordered by his wise decree." This is my humble prayer, that my times shall be his command. At this moment, I appreciate and help and support extended by my family and the church community, the pastors, the pastorate committees, past and present, my fellow organists, Amar Mane, James, Freddie Davidason, Mark, and Mrs. Jacqueline Aiken, who have been part of this journey for long, and my friends who have stood by me always. Time is a limited gift by God. I believe it is God's everlasting love and amazing grace that enables us to use our short, valuable time serving Him for His glory. Thank you. Amen.
Now I request the choir to present a memento as well as a special number.